Hey guys, Chris here. In this video, we are doing the Norwegian high-speed run in the BYD Tang Electric. This is a very exciting SUV, a large family electric SUV, almost the size of a Volvo XC90. This thing is huge with a huge cargo room behind me and also 7 seats. This is an electric SUV a lot of people have been waiting for. So I hope you guys are excited for this video because I am. And if you're new to the channel, the Norwegian high-speed run is a battle against the clock over a route that is 615 kilometers. We're starting here at Circle K in Sandvika. We're going down to the train station in Kristiansand and then back again to this starting point. And the point of the whole test is to complete the route as quickly as possible, because we're not only, testing the range of an electric SUV from a full charge, but also its efficiency at speed and also its ability to charge fast. Those three things combined will really dictate how quickly this electric SUV will perform in today's test. And at the very end of the video, we're going to put this car into a chart, as we have done with every other SUV or electric car we have put to the test in this route, and see how it stacks up. So yeah, we're almost here at 100%. It's charging at 45 kilowatts at 96%. Super impressive. So once we hit 100%, we're going to unplug, we're going to be on our way, and I'll see you guys on the road. We have now covered the first section of motorway. So we've done about 133 kilometers. I don't know if you guys can see that from down there in the corner. There's a lot of glare on camera on these screens, and also the brightness is not very good. I mean, it's not a bright day outside, it is overcast, but the screens are very dark, and yes, the brightness is turned all the way up to 100%. So that is a bit disappointing, though the refresh rate, the resolution, and also the crispiness and responsiveness of at least the infotainment screen here is pretty impressive. One of the best infotainment screens I've used when it comes to responsiveness. So we're down to about 50% battery after 134.6 kilometers. Average consumption, well, I can press this button here on the steering wheel and I can get average consumption the past 50 kilometers, but average consumption on the trip is not possible to reset. I talked to the guy, I said BYD, and he's like, no. So this is kind of a it's not a pre-production, but this does have a few software niggles, this BYD, that's going to be sorted out before customers get their cars. Yeah, things like not having, average consumption for your trip, things like not having a built-in navigation system from factory. They are working on that. It has to do with licensing, but since this is basically an Android, it's not Android infotainment system, it's basically an Android tablet, this infotainment system here. So it's not like something you would find in a Polestar 2 or a Volvo XC40. This is basically a tablet Bluetooth screen. That's why it works so well also. It's an awesome idea. But that means you can download anything. So I actually downloaded Google Maps. So this is pretty cool. Works perfect, and it's full screen. So that is pretty cool. So average consumption on the trip, the past 50 kilometers at least, is 32 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Yeah, pretty high, but also the temperature today is very, very low, 5 degrees Celsius now. Conditions are very nice though, dry roads, and we have also a tailwind from the north. Now we're heading along the coast, so we're heading southwest now. So, maybe the tailwind in our direction is about a meter or 2 per second, so not too bad. But what we'll do is that we'll have to calculate when we get to Kristiansand, probably stop the timer and see what the actual consumption is based on the battery usage and the battery size. But yeah, the car's indicating 180 kilometers of range. We have 169 to go. And usually I'd be like, oh, that's not a large safety margin, but we're now done with the highest speed sections. I'm guessing our average speed till now is about 110, 115 kilometers an hour. Okay guys, so we're gonna head on now, continue on, and I'll catch up with you when we get to Kristiansand at our turnaround point. look at this, guys. We're now down to 1% battery and 2 kilometers of range left, and we are here at Kristiansand Center. Yeah. So what happened? And I forgot to actually turn on my microphone while filming. I was so stressed out, but I'm going to overlay some video now. What happened is that we were on the motorway about 35 kilometers away from Kristiansand. And I, been monitoring the range all the time and the battery percentage. It was just dropping and dropping and dropping. Yes, it is cold outside. It's 10 degrees Celsius now. But I realized that we weren't going to be able to make it to Kristiansand. So I put Ionity Kristiansand into the destination, which is only about 10 kilometers from here. And it looked like we were going to be able to make it. But what happened is that we just lost power. Like, we were going 50 kilometers an hour on the motorway, and I found these chargers here, hopped off the motorway. So we're gonna top up here at a 50 kilowatt charger. We're gonna do this quite quickly. And I don't know, we're not gonna subtract any time, but what the takeaway is with this car is that you don't wanna go down to 1% or 2% because you will lose a lot of power. And I'm just gonna do this. Yeah. Okay, so I just highlights, but you're gonna lose a lot of power. Yeah, okay, and then what? There. We should be charging now. There. Beep. Okay, yeah, that took time, weird. But okay, yeah, so the takeaway is that you don't want to take this car down to, 1 or 2 or even 3%, because it seems like that the indicated battery percentage is actually your fully available battery percentage. That's my guess here, that you don't actually have a bottom buffer below 0 that you have in most EVs, because most EVs today will let you go down to 0% without any issues at all, and then it's when you are down to 0 you may get that power loss. But here we got it at like 2 or 3% that you guys can see from the video. Yeah, so this is pretty scary, but this is also why I do these tests and why I push these EVs to the extreme to see how they perform, so you guys don't have to do it when you are wherever you may be in the world. I'm lucky enough to live in Norway, where we have at least 50 kilowatt chargers like spread out throughout everywhere. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna push it now. If we're not able to make it, I have a plan B or a plan C. So we're gonna lose a little bit time here. Will we subtract it from the end? I don't know, maybe not, but we're gonna top up a little bit here now so we have enough juice just to go to the 150 kilowatt chargers in Kristiansand. Okay, we are here at our proper exit. So what we did is that we topped up to 5% battery. So we went from 1 to 5. It took us about 5 minutes. So a quick pit stop with overhead and stuff like that. I think maybe like 8-9 minutes. So have that in mind at the end of the video. Traffic today has been very, very light, and also, I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, but this test, guys, is a real world test. So traffic will be a factor. This is not a scientific test. This is not a laboratory test. So at the end of the video, when we have, the time, keep that in mind. The time is just a guide. It's not a proper specific measurement, even though I rank the cars by time. There's always like an asterisk, always a caveat with most of these tests, because traffic, can be an issue. But I try to do these tests with as little traffic as possible. But I can't control traffic in the real world, and neither can you. So for people, commenting that, yes, I do understand, but that is, the nature of the test. That's the nature of driving an EV in the real world. So let's go over here to the Ionity chargers on this side. Yeah, we have the charge port on the right side, not the left side. I was thinking left side. So we'll have to back up here a little bit. You guys can see the 360 camera, which is pretty cool. And then let's just go inch forward a little bit because we don't have a stall in front of us here. And let's see, we are now here with 2% battery. And we're going to have to, yeah, what do people keep calling me? That's just third phone call in like 10 minutes. Guys, I'm filming a YouTube video. You know this. Okay. So 2% battery, we're going to have to keep that in mind. And then we have the charge port on this side. Oh, do you have to turn off the ignition? That's annoying. Ah, the car's locked. Thank you. That's nice to know. So possibly turn off the ignition before you go and charge, like that. Hopefully that should open up the charge port. Yep. And then you have these rubber covers on this car. You have to detach or remove. And then we're going to just step over the charging cable here. And then we're going to swipe our card. This should be quite flawless, but well, interesting to see how quickly this initializes. And guys, these cables here can be very dangerous. You don't see it now, but I have some scars now or wounds on my hand from a few weeks ago when I actually fell over, tripped over a cable like this. And yeah, I was just able to catch myself before, you know, face palming into the asphalt. So be careful about the cables, but let's see how quickly the initializing happens with this Ionity charger. And yeah, we have a fail. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. And now it's locked. So how do we unlock it? Do we have to find the key and then unlock? Yeah. So we're having more issues than we would want. Yeah. So it helped with the key. So we're gonna do this. Do we have to do the Phoenix connector dance with this? Maybe. That is holding the connector, because communication happens via the top ports with these chargers. Yeah. I put it back, come on. Yeah, this is not something I prefer happening. Yes, okay, yes, fine. Okay. And then again. Okay, yeah. This doesn't want to, is it the charger that's the issue here? Okay, we're not gonna play around. Let's use this charger here instead. Let's just take this cable and I'll walk through here. Are we able to do that? Yeah. I'm skinny enough to put my body through this. Okay. Okay, connected. Yeah, I know guys, this is kind of not how we wanted to do it. Okay, approved. So I've been trying lately not doing the Phoenix contact dance, the contact connector dance, holding the connector to the car, and it hasn't actually been an issue for a while now. So it seems like it was just this charger here that was an issue. These chargers here have been quite reliable, no issues at all actually, but now we hear the clicking sound of the relay. So yeah, we should be charging any second now. We have a light indicating here. It's blinking yellow. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign with this car. But okay, okay, okay. So what we're gonna do off camera before we leave here, we're gonna find out how much we're gonna charge to. And also I'm going to calculate, not theoretical range, actual range based on, consumption based on the actual covered distance with, and battery usage. So we're at 7 kilowatts, and this is what I experienced with this car earlier, that initially it's very, very slow to start charging. Like earlier today also, we're charging at like 2 kilowatts, but once we were connected for a minute or two, we hit that 50 kilowatts at like, I don't know, 80%. Pretty impressive actually. So I looked at some charging curves yesterday about this car because I haven't done, a charging test yet. And it should have a peak speed of around 110 kilowatts. I should have that from down low in the battery percentage up to like around 50%. But also the charging curve I saw yesterday didn't charge like 50 kilowatts at 50, 80 and 90%, even 95%. This car was charging like 40 kilowatts. Very impressive. So there may have been some changes to the software in the past month or two, but now we're just going slow. Come on, it's super cold outside. Oh, maybe we're gonna hop in the car and monitor it from there because it actually has yeah, let's do that instead. It took a minute or two, but finally guys, we're charging at a decent speed. At like 5%, we were at 110 kilowatts, and as you guys can see now at 7%, we're at 114.2 kilowatts. So that is pretty nice. So what we're going to do now off camera, we're going to calculate the actual consumption, because I'm interested to see how efficient or inefficient this car has been. I've done some calculations off camera now, and the numbers I have used are under the assumption that the actual available battery percentage, 100% here in the gauge cluster, is the full net battery capacity of 86.4 kilowatt hours. That would explain why we lose all that power down at 1%, why the car barely moves, that we don't have more available battery percentage. There is no buffer below zero. That would explain a lot. So we're assuming that, but that also makes a lot of sense. So 86.4 kilowatt hours net is 100%. So we used 99% to get to the last charger. We topped up to 5%, used 3% to get there. So total consumption, 102%. That's also 88.128 kilowatt hours to get very specific. Of course, there is some margin of error here, and also probably some heat loss. So we're calculating included heat loss now, which is not something we usually do. But if we do that, and then we also assume that the distance is correct, 285 kilometers, we get average consumption of 30.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers thus far, which makes sense and is kind of in agreement with the past 50 kilometers of range or consumption this car is able to give us, at least. So that seems to be correct. Yes, it is high, but it is cold outside. We are on 22-inch wheels with this car, 265 45 22s. Immensely large wheels. And also, I'm not sure about this wind, because it sounded like we actually had a little bit of headwind on the way down. So I'll have to recheck the wind map, but we're going to see at the end of the video. That's the very interesting thing, to see how much battery we have used, and also to calculate, that proper consumption. All of this is going to be in a chart at the end of the video. But we're going to charge here to, I don't know, we're charging at actually 116 kilowatts now, which is quite impressive for this car compared to the charging curves I've seen online. But I think we're going to charge to maybe 50-60%, depends on when it starts to dip down, and then we're going to be on our way again, because we have to do a second charging stop on our way back. Welcome to Kristiansand, guys. Finally, we are here after a little bit of a bumpy ride. We are finally here, and we haven't been here in a while. When was the last time we went to Kristiansand? It must have been like a month or two ago. It feels like, yeah, a long time. And we can follow the progress of the new building they're building here on the right side. Oh, look at this. They're building a lot of stuff here. Look at this, new construction right here. And then we also have this building here, looking pretty nice. This area has always been a little bit shabby, like not a nice area next to the train station, but it looks like they are now freshening it up and building some nice buildings. But okay, this is our turnaround point right here at the train station. We're gonna take a right here. We had a green light, and then we're just gonna do a U-turn over here. Where do we want to do the U-turn? Let's do the U-turn. If we could go all the way around, it would be really nice. But we're going to do the U-turn here. So we went to 64% in Lillesand at the Ionity chargers, because we actually had that peak speed of 116 kilowatts up until 64%, and then it dropped to 80 kilowatts. So that's the time to hop off. And we are now at, let's see, we are now at 58% battery. Oh, we did catch the green light. So that is pretty nice, but let's just check the timer now quickly. Usually we don't charge before we get down here because we have enough range, but again, we have now, let's see, 4 hours and 3 minutes. Yes. Yeah, we are really behind schedule now. That's about an hour behind, but that's because we have been charging. We charged for 33 minutes in Ionity in Lillesand, so this car doesn't have the fastest charging. But again, it's a very unique vehicle in this space because it is a large SUV. It's a huge car, guys. with proper ground clearance. I spoke to an Ionity 5 owner at the charging station in Lillesand, and he's like, wow, this thing is huge. It has immense ground clearance. So we can't, you have to judge this car on that. You know, it's a big box, so we know it's not going to be very aerodynamic. But what will be interesting to see is how it stacks up against the rest of the EVs on the market. It's probably not going to do very well in this test since we're already an hour behind. We'll be able to do this in 7.5 hours, maybe, if we're lucky. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Okay, guys, enough about that. We're going to keep on continuing now. And then I have no idea where we're going to charge. The car's indicating 235 kilometers of range. I don't know how realistic that is. But we're going to stop somewhere along the way on our way back to Oslo, do a last charging session. Hopefully that will be quite short. And then I'll catch up with you guys there. So we're here at our third charging stop. We stopped at Circle K in Bamble. I didn't want to chance it to go to Ionity in Ringdalsskog. We had about 60 kilometers of range left, 40 kilometers to go. That's what we did last time. We went too low in the battery percentage and we had no power. We had to stop before. So I stopped here now with 16%. I think we're gonna go to like 65%. I think that should give us enough juice to go all the way to Circle K back in Sandvika. But it's a little bit hard to calculate since this car doesn't have, you know, an average consumption readout more than the last 50 kilometers. So that will be nice when that comes to this car. So most definitely we're going to do all our testing with this car in the week I have it. But I think I'm going to have to revisit this car also later on. And also it's so slow to start charging fast. Look at this, guys. Connected with 16%. We've been connected for about 3 minutes now actually, and it's still not giving us maximum speed. But we had a message down here where it said thermal battery management is on, so maybe it has a very large heating element that actually heats the battery after we get to the charger. That's why we're getting limited power, and then it pulls, you know, this power to heat up the battery, and then once the battery gets up to some temperature, it can give us that full speed. But we should be getting, you know, peak speed here at around 116 kilowatts. Welcome back to our starting point here at Circle K in Sandvika. So we're right here with 16% battery, which is much more than what is ideal for doing this test as quickly as possible. But not having, you know, an average consumption readout didn't make calculating how much battery we needed to get back here easy. So later on in the year, as I've been told, before customers take delivery of this BYD Tang, there will be, you know, an update to the software. But it didn't make it easy for this test, and well, I charged too much. I should have charged less, but according to my calculations, this is the battery percentage I found safe, and it was better to get here with more battery than not get there and have to do an extra charging session. And calculated average consumption, this time, you know, pulling out the heat loss, so it's much more comparable to other cars because other cars don't count heat loss in their average consumption. Average consumption today throughout the trip was 27.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which, considering that it was very cold today, we started with, it was actually 3 degrees Celsius outside before we started, but once we started the test, it was 5 degrees, and the warmest we have had is 10 degrees. So quite cold temperatures, and this being a large SUV, I don't think there's anything else that compare and compete with this at the moment. You know, 7 seats and the size of this. Yes, a Tesla Model X is also big, but it doesn't have the cargo carrying capacity as this, because this has a traditional SUV shape, and also the ground clearance in this is proper SUV. Again, this is very close to an XC90 in size. It feels like an XC90, so I don't think the consumption, considering those factors, is too bad. And also this car's on 22-inch wheels, so it really doesn't have anything going for it to be able to have low consumption. So we have to take that, you know, with a grain of salt. But yeah, and also the performance. This thing has more than 500 horsepower. So all things considered, I don't think the consumption is too bad. You have to compare to other cars in this class. And also, before I reveal the actual time, I want to comment on that this is so large inside and comfortable. The seats are comfortable. The suspension tuning is air suspension like soft and has air suspension like fluidiness, but from what I could find, it doesn't have air suspension. I couldn't even find out if this thing has adaptive dampers, so it's very impressive considering it's also on 22-inch wheels. It's quite quiet, not as quiet as the quietest electric cars on the market, like something like my big Audi E-Tron or the Mustang Mach-E or even the MEB platform Volkswagen cars, but it is quite quiet, and also again on big wheels. And also these wheels are not very aerodynamic. So everything considered, this is a very interesting car, and I am a fan because it starts at like 600,000 kroner, 60,000 euros. That's cheap for this much car, and it doesn't feel like a cheap car. Yes, we have some software issues here and there, but I'm pretty sure that will be fixed before these cars goes to customers. My God, I can't even talk today. But okay, guys, you are here at the end of the video because you want to know the time. So the BYD Tang Electric completed the Norwegian high-speed run in, drumroll, 7 hours and 42 minutes. So if we look at the chart down below, this comes in between the winter testing times of the ID.3 58 kilowatt-hour version and also the Polestar 2 long-range dual motor before the software updates. And considering that is not too bad. If we did more optimal charging, maybe we could have shaved off a little bit of time, doing 3 charging sessions. I think we had to do that either way, but if we did, shorter charging sessions and did it a little more strategic and also didn't charge as much, we could maybe post maybe 5 to 10 minutes better time, and then we're down at like maybe 7:35 realistically, and that is not bad considering the conditions. This car doesn't charge very fast. Now we're charging here at 116 kilowatts. It is a large battery at 86.4 kilowatt hours net, but it is flat all the way up to like 64%, which is very impressive. So if you just bumped up the speed to like 140, maybe 150, this would actually have very impressive charging, and doing 0 or 10 to 80% or to even to 60 or 70%, this would be competing with the best out there. So guys, let me know what you think of the time of the BYD Tang today. This was quite it was as expected. I said like 7 hours and 30 minutes before I started the test, and I think this car is capable of getting even closer to that. So guys, let me know what you think below. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.